0.000000006 meters. So human DNA is about 1.8 meters or 5 feet long. In other words, the human DNA is so small that they have to use electron microscope, which only military have to see it, okay? And they cannot show it for reals because you are not reliable enough for them to show you this secret military electron microscope. And the nanometers thin part suggests that it's in -9-degree size. Okay? Have you been following mathematics? -9-degree size. At the same time, it is around size of a human male. So how can it be so small that it requires electron microscope and the human size at the same time? But never mind. The viruses, the size of viruses. Most of viruses vary in diameter from 20 nanometers. Nano again suggests that something is in -9-degree size. Okay? Let it settle in the head. The largest, however, measure about 500 nanometers in diameter. Most of people cannot realize that they show you some graphics that are representations of their imagination, okay? And they are meant, those paintings are meant to cause you have a trance, okay? They are basically trance triggers. See, this is just an artist's representation or computer generated image that doesn't exist really, okay? And the spiral is a trance trigger, something that causes your brain to go into trance state via eye movement. So the core of your eye, when you look at these ornaments, follows this spiral, and this creates certain feedback in your brain. So when you sleep, for example, you have this what is called a rapid eye movement. And the same thing happens to you when you look at this DNA stuff. Your eye quickly follows it and your brain becomes blocked to critical thinking. You can also call this stuff sacred geometry or something like that. But it's basically is depicted in such a way that it will block your brain and put you like a pre-epileptic seizure state. And the more you follow it, the dumber you become. See? They even have this in motion. See? This is to cause you a trance-like state. So initially, when there were those experiments made with DNA, what is called DNA, before they built this model, again, it's just a model. It doesn't exist in reality. It is a lie. And this DNA case just shows how complicit everybody in every country in the world is with these lies, with this straight up cowardice to challenge this, and how this was invented and controlled by MI6. So all scientific institutions in the world are controlled by the MI6 organization, which are basically criminals and murderers, because they explain a lot of diseases with this DNA, which is false and fake, and consequently people are not searching for real causes and cures of their diseases, and cancer is just one little example of it. So when I was a child, when I was 9 years old, I had a neighbor kid who died from cancer, who was 6 years old. He had what is called leukemia, which is blood cancer. Ever since then, and I'm now 39 years old, I have been following this cancer stuff, and I read whatever I could on cancer. They have been blaming that, saying that cancer is a mushroom, cancer is a virus, cancer is a breakage in your DNA. Just bullshit, bullshit and bullshit and bullshit after bullshit, fraud on fraud. That's what they do with this. Let me read you this. Early investigations into the patterns of mutations in cancer genomes reveal that cytosine mutations are commonly present in TCN, where N is any nucleotide. Trinucleotide sequence context. The sequence context preferences of the ApoBEC cytosine deaminases, which target DNA and RNA of viruses and retro elements as part of the innate immune defense, led to the proposal that such mutations derive from ApoBEC activity. So like you read this whole paragraph and you're thinking, what the fuck are you talking about? And it's made to be this way so that you would feel about yourself that you are dumb, that you will never be able to comprehend this complicated stuff because you are not a doctor of medicine and this is not your specialty. So back into this, the beginning of it. There was a person called Rosalind Franklin who was working in this laboratory back in the day. She was beaming, she was X-raying infected tissue under the microscope. So she was putting them in the water and she was beaming X-rays on them, X-ray lights on them. So all that you can see when you look at the tissue or when you look at the blood this way, all you can see is refractions of light in the water. That's what it is. It's a refraction of light that you're looking at when you look at the microscope. Can your tissues be altered in such a way that they reflect the light or absorb the light, or there is a refraction of light when it is put in the water, through the water? Can your tissue be altered in such a way that they start to refract the light in different way? Yes, they can be, but again, you have to go with the truth. You have to go with reality, and you have to face that you see what you see, and you don't see anything else, and you don't assume anything else. You see the refractions of light. That's what you see. You don't see any virus. You don't see any DNA. You don't see anything. This is the refractions of lights that you're looking at when you look at your tissue, when you look at your blood. So anyways, this Rosalind Franklin died at age 42 from cancer. I assume they poisoned her. She was a professor, and they were two undergraduate students, Watson and Crick, British. They were 20 years old now. Do you remember yourself at the age 20? And they didn't give them the Nobel Prize until they turned 40 or something like that, not to attract attention, because they even didn't look bright, because you look at their photos and you can see that they are just marginal, scummy pieces of shit. And when you show all this DNA stuff, especially to people of color, especially brown people, when you show them these spirals and you point out to the fact that it's all fake, for some reason the people of color cannot accept the idea that it is fake. For some reason they hold on to this DNA so much. It's just this science that they worship. They don't want to look into the stuff that this DNA stuff was created by two 20-year-olds who were just alcoholics. And this Watson guy, that he said that black people should be nurtured or sterilized or something like that. Something they did to Indian population. So for some reason, those black people cannot even allow the idea that this type of stuff doesn't exist, this DNA stuff doesn't exist. Well, in Russia, what I heard recently, I heard this physics, the engineer that I'm subscribed to, who is into conspiracy, he's basically anti-Jewish, but I don't know, he could work for MI6 too, because that's what they do, they always cover up this. So he's very interesting. He finally made the video some months ago, and he admitted that all this stuff, including the paternity testing, is just something they squeeze out of their ass. That's what it is. And another conspiracy channel that I saw, there was this also professor of physics called Sal that was talking about this. He was talking about alternative school created in Moscow and in, I think, somewhere in Canada, and it is called wave genetics. So it goes back to this quantum physics stuff, when they say that we are made either of particles, the tiny things in minus something degree size, in negative size, or we are made of waves. So are we made from particles or are we made from waves? Electromagnetic waves, etc. So there are all these types of alternative sciences and even institutions based on wave genetics. So this is called wave genetics. And so this Sal guy, on his channel, he claims that one of these scientists, I think he was Georgian or maybe not, he went to Canada to work on this, in this field, this totally alternative view on genetics, which is wave genetics, not which is alternative to idea that is based on DNA. So he says that he went to Canada and they started to recreate through this wave genetics. They started to apply these ideas into actions, into science, into this wave genetics, and they started to recreate organs like a 3D printer can print a gun, for example. The same way they were able to recreate through this wave genetics approach, they were able to grow the organs. But somehow he says that they don't want this wave genetics to get out because it would show, according to him, the infernal or demonic origin of the elite class. So they basically are conceived during some ritual orgy or something, according to him. And if we apply this science of wave genetics, it would be easy to see. And they cannot regenerate organs for themselves thus this way, so they have to resort to this human trafficking on organ donors.